It's been a hot minute since I sat down in front of a camera because I was in Las Vegas for a week and life has just been lifing lately. We had Thanksgiving, we had Vegas, and now I'm sitting in front of the camera starting to film for the remainder of December. So it's been a hot minute. So if I need a drink of coffee. I need a drink of coffee. Yes, I do. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to today's video. If you're new here, my name is Staci. I have unfiltered makeup opinions, honest reviews, OG, old school tutorials. And today we're actually going to be doing something a little bit different on my channel. It's something we are starting for 2024, and I'm going to be carrying it forward into 2025. Today we're talking about my most used makeup of 2024. I also want to start this video with a caveat that this is not the best of beauty of 2024. This is just product that I found myself using a lot in 2024. So keep that in mind. This is part one because I'm going through every single category that I have. We're talking about primers, foundation, concealer, blush, bronzer, eyeshadows, single shadows, mascara, brows. Like, we're talking about all the categories, and these are the top products that I used in 2024. So we are going to start with the base of the face today. I'm saving the eyes for last. Buckle up, we're getting into this video right now. So starting in the primer category, my top 5 primers that I have used in 2024. I actually have like a plethora of different primers that I've used. Some were gripping primers, some were pore filling primers. Some of them have been completely panned and used up. As I've gotten older, I've noticed that if I don't have a primer, that my makeup just tends to not last as long as what it should. Now, I am 35 years old. I live in a 4-seasoned climate, so I get all of the seasons. I get all 4 seasons here in upstate New York, which means that my skin reacts to the weather. So I'm looking for something that's really going to make my makeup last a long time, that it doesn't texturize, or, you know, something that's going to fill in my pores, blur my pores, and it's really going to make a really good base for all of the foundation and blush and bronzer product that I'm putting on top of it. I had 5 primers this year that I was just like absolutely in love with, could not put down. If you guys go through my channel, you'll see a lot of these are in the description box when I use them, and they were my favorite primers of 2024. The Danessa Myricks Yummy Skin Blur Powder Primer. I actually got a sample size of this, and it was in a Sephora like gift box, gift set sort of thing, and I received this. Now, this actually is the like translucent universal shade, because apparently it comes in shades, but this is a very mattifying, very, very blurring type of primer. And actually, when you like feel it on your skin, it kind of has that same property as like the poreless blurring primer from e.l.f., the one that's like the poreless putty primer, not the liquid one, but this one, the one that's like in a little tub like this. So it is a clearing consistency primer. I do find, I have it right here, you can kind of see it. I do find that it blurs my skin really, really nicely, and it did prep my skin really nicely. And it also helps to control some of my oil, like if I would have a little bit of excess oil, especially in the summertime. And it would really help control any oil or any excess oil that I was having because of the weather that we were having outside. And I found that it was really mattifying, so it did give me a really nice base to start with. Even if I chose to use more of a glowy foundation or a matte foundation, but I did find that this was a really good base, especially with the L'Oreal Infallible 32-Hour Fresh Wear Foundation. Now let's talk about some drugstore, because I have some drugstore that I just could not put down in 2024. 2 of them are from e.l.f. Since we're talking about like blurring primers, like pore filling primers, let's talk about this one. This is the e.l.f. Poreless Putty Primer. This is also a silicone feeling primer. It's very slippy. It's very like, it's not a gripping primer. It's just a very like slippy, grippy, liquidy primer. And when you put it on, it does have like a blurring effect to the skin. It does create this like even textured, blurred look, and it is tinted pink, which I have found that really helps cancel out some of the like blue. If you have a lot of blue or purples in your face, it helps cancel that out because it's almost like a salmony pinkish color, and it does do a little bit of color correcting as well. It does make for a long-lasting application. I found that this particular foundation also worked really well with the L'Oreal Infallible Fresh Wear Foundation, and I really liked this because it was $10. It's the liquid version of the e.l.f. Poreless Putty Primer, so it's a little bit more fluid on the face, and it's easier to evenly distribute it all over your face, whereas the compact version of the Poreless Putty Primer, or like the Danessa Myricks one, it's easier to put this on my face because it is a liquid product. It is not one of those that's in a compact. That's really hard to distribute across the face, across the board. But I did find that it did not over accentuate any of my pores at all. It really did a good job of filling in my fine lines underneath my eyes really, really well. Anytime I was having a little bit more of blue in my face, I really found that it canceled out the blue, especially under my eyes, and it really just blurred everything and made it this really nice cohesive look. Now this one, I actually have another one already open, but I have here the e.l.f. Power Gripping Primer. This is a drugstore primer. This is my OG go-to primer. I think I've repurchased this 2 or 3 times now. I've had so many of these, and this is a true gripping primer. It retails for $10. It is from e.l.f. It's available at the drugstore, and it gives you this cooling effect on your face when you use it. And it really just soothes my skin. Anytime that I feel I'm having a little bit of a flare up, I do have some hyperpigmentation. But what I really like about this primer is that it grips the makeup so well, and it makes it last a really, really long time, but it's also super hydrating with my skin. This is I want to say the 3rd one I've gone through, and I actually have another one already in my makeup bag, but I had to pull it out because you guys can see, I am down to the bare bones in this one. And this is the one that I keep as on my vanity when I'm sitting up in my makeup room. I love this primer. It is really, really good. I love the gripping properties behind it. I think it performs really, really well, and it makes my makeup last forever. This is the primer I go to anytime that I'm doing a foundation wear test. This is my go-to primer every single time. And this was my most used primer in 2024 by far. So this primer was actually a new discovery later in 2024. I'd actually heard a couple of reviews on this primer before I decided to try it myself. And it was in a video about Catrice and what they've been up to. If you're not familiar with Catrice, they used to be available at Ulta Beauty, so you could buy them pretty much at any Ulta Beauty that you walked into, which was nice because Ulta Beauty is in major cities, so it was pretty accessible. Now you can only buy Catrice on Amazon and on their website, which was really sad for me because I have some favorites from Catrice that I absolutely love, and I feel nobody talks about them anymore. So I did a full face of Catrice. I tried the Aqua Grip Primer, and I was really blown away by this primer. It performs really similarly to the e.l.f. Power Grip Primer, don't get me wrong, and it does have the same retail price of $10. But I found that this primer is a lot more hydrating feeling on my skin than the e.l.f. Power Gripping Primer because it does have hyaluronic acid in it. And it really, it plumps my skin. It has that cooling effect that you typically get from the e.l.f. Power Gripping Primer, but it has the hyaluronic acid in it. So it really is pushing the hyaluronic acid into my skin to get my skin to plump more. Now, the key with this primer specifically, and it's not something that I typically practice with the e.l.f. Power Grip Primer, but with the Aqua Grip Primer, I have found you actually need to let it sit on your skin for a couple of minutes before you actually start applying makeup so you can really get that tacky feel to your makeup. If you apply your makeup right after putting the primer on, it doesn't do as good of a job as what it could. So that is one thing that I have found with this primer. But overall, I found that it really grips my makeup, really sucks my makeup onto my face, and it doesn't really move. I'm not saying it's not transfer proof, but the makeup really grips onto my skin, and my makeup just applies that much better because my skin is plumped, hydrated, and it also has that gripping property to it, and is such a good primer. So good. As a primer, even though I know you're supposed to mix this in with skincare, I typically don't do that. But I did also try the Makeup Revolution bronzing drops this year. Now, these are multi-use bronzing drops. They have squalene, hyaluronic acid. They also have grapeseed oil in them. I found myself using this so much during the summer months, mixing it with my tinted sunscreens, mixing it with my foundations that had a lot of sunscreen in them to give myself a little bit less white cast and to just really even out any of the product that I was testing out this summer. And this I've also used on its own as just a primer. I've actually found, because of the skin loving ingredients in it, it really helps my skin be a little bit more plump, a little bit more full, and it also obviously bronzes my face. So it warms up my face a little bit. But if I'm looking for something that's going to nourish my skin, but it also provides the bronzing effect, and it also provides that like lit from within glow, I was placing this on my face all the time. I was actually using it in conjunction with primers, but then also on its own, where I was just using this as a primer, and it is such a beautiful product. If I remember correctly, it retails for like $8, and it comes in 0.77 fluid ounces, and it's a great product. I was using this so much this summer specifically because I really liked the sun-kissed look that I got with this primer. We have foundation. Foundation, if you guys haven't seen my foundation wear test playlist, I'm going to leave it linked for you guys, but I do a lot of foundation wear tests. I do a lot of foundation reviews. I love a good foundation. Like if I can find a good foundation that sustains the mom test, then I'm going to love it even more. And the mom test is, my kids love to hug me, kiss me. They like to put their hands all over my face. I give them a shower at night, and so my face is like being splashed with water, and it goes through the ringer. When I'm foundation testing, it goes through the ringer, and I love finding a really good foundation. So let's start out with some of the most used, like these were my most used foundations in 2024. But I have 5 foundations that were like complete favorites of 2024. Let's start with this one, the L'Oreal Infallible 32-Hour Fresh Wear Foundation. I did do a foundation wear test of this foundation. I believe it was an earlier of this year. And what happened is they reformulated this foundation. It used to be a 24-hour fresh wear foundation, and they actually reformulated it. They added vitamin C to it, and now it's a 32-hour fresh wear foundation with 25 SPF sunscreen in it as well. I think it had that as well, like before they reformulated. I love this foundation. I have found that, let's rewind a little bit. So when I tried the 24-hour fresh wear foundation, which was the old version of this one, I didn't like how it wore. I felt it looked really cakey on my skin, and it just kind of over accentuated a lot of the fine lines I have, the texture that I have, and it really didn't cover very well either. A lot of people have said that they love this foundation. They love the old variation of it. And when I reviewed this initially, I felt very oily when I first used it, and it just didn't wear right. But over time, it became a huge favorite of mine. I love that it's like a serum-like consistency when I put it on my face. And I like that it has this like lightweight feel. It also has the vitamin C, so it really brightens my skin as well. And it also actually, I found that this lasts a heck of a ton longer than what the old one used to, obviously because they changed the formula and it's 32-hour fresh wear now. This one I loved to pair with the e.l.f. Power Gripping Primer. Those two together are like chef's kiss, absolutely beautiful. And it really just like gave me juicy looking skin. So beautiful, so airbrushed, and I absolutely loved the way that my skin looked with this foundation. This was one of my most used foundations of 2024. It was so good, and I still can't put it down. I love this foundation. Over the summer, I couldn't get enough of a cream foundation. I'm not a cream person by any means at all, because I find that when I wear foundation sticks or creams, it just is very heavy on my skin, and it doesn't really mesh well with my skin. But I have here the Toti CC Solera Compact. This has a SPF of 50, so it has really good SPF benefits, especially during the summertime. And I found that if I just did a light coat of this all over my face, I got the SPF with I also have the sunscreen that I would pair with it as well. And I would just get really good skin coverage with this for the sun, but also really good, nice, like your skin, but better coverage when I was wearing it as a foundation. Sometimes I would use it and I would just spot conceal, like if I was like on the go and could not really do like a full face of makeup, or I would apply it all over with a beauty blender and just like pounce it into my skin. And it just looked so airbrushed on my face. And it's a cream, but it wore really nicely throughout the day. It's not oily, even though it has a really high SPF concentration in it. And it's just so pretty on the skin. Like, it's just got this beautiful cream texture, and it literally just looks so pretty on my skin. Sometimes I even use it as like a really quick concealing type of product even now. And this was like used so much in 2024 that I went through my first compact of it. And this is actually my second compact. Like, I panned the entire thing. I used the entire thing, and then I had to buy another one. So I went through one, and now we have the second one that I'm working on. And that tells you a lot, because there are a lot of foundations in my collection that I have, and I went through one of these already, and it was just that good. I have a new release from Sigma Beauty. I did a whole foundation wear test on this one too. This is the Skin Perfector Hydrator Tint, and oh my goodness, how much I loved this. This is like my perfect skin tint. It has a medium coverage. It's your skin but better. It is dewy. It also has hyaluronic acid in it, vitamin E, squalene, and niacinamide. So it has some really great skincare ingredients. But I loved this because it was like a medium coverage with those ingredients in it that really just made my skin look very youthful and very glowy, especially at the end of the summer when I was hitting those like 99-degree days here in upstate New York. It got so hot at the end of August, and this was like the perfect skin tint for me to wear. I would wear this with the e.l.f. Power Gripping Primer quite a bit, and I just loved the really nice, like, subtle medium coverage that you got from it. You could use a beauty blender and shear it out all over your face, or you could use a brush, and you could use the brush and, like, you know, stipple it into your face. I found that the brush gave me a little bit better of a coverage, and it just looks so pretty on my skin. Loved this skin tint so much. When I reviewed it, I was like, is this the skin tint of my dreams? The skin tint that I've been looking for my entire life? Because literally it is. The only downfall that I have with the hydrator tint is that it doesn't have SPF in it. And when I'm wearing a skin tint, I do want some added SPF coverage. That way I'm getting a little bit more sun coverage with the foundation product that I'm putting on my face as well. But honestly, it's still a really good skin tint. I would call it like light to medium coverage foundation. It makes me look young. It makes me look youthful, and it is just so pretty on the skin. I could not get enough of this. And now I've not used this foundation in a couple of weeks, only because I have been loving on another foundation that was a favorite of mine for a while. But I wanted to mention this one because this was used a lot right after I did my Catrice video, and I couldn't stop using it, and I still can't stop using it. It's the Catrice True Skin Foundation. The shade I have is Cool Nude, which is 007. This is just a medium to full coverage foundation. It is a little bit more on the matte side, but it is very long lasting. It has hyaluronic acid in it, and I found that this just makes my skin look so flawless. And so, like, it's matte, but not quite matte. It's like a satin. I'd say it's a satin foundation because it's not quite matte, but not quite like dewy glowy. So it's like a satin foundation, very full coverage, very long lasting. I tried the Catrice True Skin a couple years ago. And when I was doing like what's new with Catrice, I was like, I need to get my hands on this one again because it is such a good foundation and I absolutely love it. And 007 Cool Nude is my foundation match. But this foundation lasts a really long time. It has a satin coverage to it. It's medium to full coverage depending on how you apply it. If you apply it with a brush, definitely it's more full coverage. If you apply it with the beauty blender, it's definitely more of that medium coverage, but it does have hyaluronic acid in it. It does like make your skin look juicy and beautiful and just kind of like lit from within and like youthful. And if you are somebody who has mature skin, it doesn't settle into my fine lines. It doesn't over accentuate any of my pores. And I just found that it sits really nicely on the skin and your skin just kind of like absorbs it, but in a good way. It doesn't look cakey either. And it's just such a beautiful foundation. If I remember it, it's like $10 and it's so good. You can find it on Amazon. And then the last one, but this is the Revlon 3X Age Rewind Foundation. This has been a favorite foundation of mine for a while. I actually wore this foundation when I went to the Creators and Friends holiday party when I went in Vegas, and I bought this foundation the first time a couple years ago, right around Halloween, and I used it, fell in love with it, used it so much that I panned the entire bottle. So this is my second my second bottle of this foundation. And what it is it's a age rewind type of foundation, but it does have a lot of like skincare ingredients in it. It is very like serum-y feeling on the skin. And it really just makes me feel like my skin has been like rewound a little bit because it does have those skin loving ingredients in it. It looks really good. I do have over texturization like under my eyes, and I do have some fine lines, and it erases all of that. It just sits so beautiful on the skin. It pairs amazingly with the Catrice Aqua Grip Primer, but also with the e.l.f. Power Gripping Primer. And it lasts so long on my face, and it makes me just look so youthful and radiant and beautiful. Reddit has been floating around that it might be being discontinued. This is like one of my favorite foundations, so I am begging Revlon, please do not discontinue one of my favorite foundations because it is so pretty, so youthful, and it just looks amazing on my skin. Okay, the last category that we're going to be talking about in this video is concealer. I have 5 concealers that I have not been able to stop using in 2024. We'll start with the oldest one first, the one that I couldn't put down at the beginning of 2024, which is the KVD Vegan Beauty concealer. I actually got this on sale at the end of 2023, and I use this a lot in 2024. Yeah, she smells. She's old. I haven't used this in a while, but at the beginning of 2024, this was the concealer I was using. It's a very matte concealer, but very full coverage. And the shade that I have is Light 103. So I use this a lot for brightening my under eyes, putting it over foundation, and just like doing a couple dots here and there and brightening. But when I tell you I use this so much, like there's barely anything left in the tube. Like there's hardly anything left in this packaging for me to be able to use it to begin with. So this was a concealer that I fell in love with at the end of last year and ended up using into 2024 and falling completely in love with it. It's got a very full coverage, very matte look, but it almost feels kind of serum-y, like under the under eyes. And I found that it didn't really settle into my fine lines as long as I set it pretty quickly with like a really nice setting powder, like the Sephora Micro Smooth setting powder. That was one of the ones that I would use. And I just had like the smoothest under eyes with this concealer. It was so beautiful. But I haven't used this since the beginning of 2024, but it was one that I used for a good 4 months at the beginning of 2024, and I couldn't put it down like at all. And then another one that I actually have been loving, and you guys can tell, it's been, look how much is used in this concealer because I have been loving this concealer. It's over halfway used. And this is the Maybelline Fit Me concealer in the shade 10. This is just like a creamy, medium coverage concealer. It sits really nicely on the skin because it is creamy, and it's not really matte, but it's not really like super glowy, dewy over the top. It just sets down to like a nice satin finish. The shade that I have is number 10. And it is one that really matches my skin tone more than it does brighten, which I really liked using this for concealing a lot of my blemishes. So this is a concealer that I could like spot conceal, and then I could just put some on my under eyes as I like draw. But I could put this on my under eyes. I could spot conceal with it, put on like a very, very light dusting of powder, and go on my way about my day, especially in the summertime. This was like my summer concealer. And as you can see, like I've used quite a bit of this. It's so good. It's a creamy concealer. It has a medium coverage. It doesn't settle into my fine lines or wrinkles. It matches my skin tone more. So it does a lot more of like really good concealing without doing a lot of brightening. And I love this concealer. It is probably one of the best drugstore concealers I have ever tried. Besides, there's another concealer from Maybelline. It is the Activewear 30 Hour. I heard they're discontinuing that one too. That one I haven't used in 2024, but that's a really good one too. There are 3 like serum-y type concealers that I have not been able to stop using in 2024. The first one is the Tower 28 concealer. I purchased this concealer at the end of 2023 when I went to the first Creators and Friends holiday party. And I was like, everybody's been raving about it. I should try it. Like, let's see what this Tower 28 serum concealer is all about. And I did. I tried it, and it was just like pure perfection on my face. It's a very underrated concealer. Not a lot of people talk about it, but it's very serum-y in consistency. It honestly, if you are somebody who is in your 30s and you have fine lines, this is something that like it doesn't settle into those, but it's very moisturizing on your under eyes, and it really creates this beautiful makeup look where like your eyes just look like they've been like rewound, and they just look so beautiful. It's not texturizing at all. It is such a beautiful concealer. It is so underrated. It's like $24. but it is so good. I've heard it compared to the Natasha Denona concealer, and I've heard that it is like amazing and comparable to that as well. I never had any problems with it like expiring because Tower 28 is more of a clean beauty brand, but I do not have that concealer anymore because it's a year old and I declutter after like a year, which, do you guys want to see a declutter? Let me know. Anyway, so the last two concealers I recently tried at the end of 2024, but I haven't been able to stop using them, and they pretty much replaced the Tower 28 concealer because they do the same exact thing, and I actually use them in conjunction with each other quite a bit. The first one is the Catrice True Skin Concealer. The shade that I have, it's very, very similar to my skin tone, and so I use it just for a lot of concealing and not a lot of brightening. So on days when I feel like if I'm brightening too much and I look very bagged under here, I just use the True Skin Concealer. The True Skin Concealer is very serum-y in consistency, and it is just very lightweight feeling on the skin, and it blends out so beautifully with both a sponge and a brush, and it just looks absolutely stunning. And this is another concealer that I have done this before, where I've just put the concealer on, like in some problem areas, powdered my face, and then put some like a one and done eyeshadow on, some mascara, and went about my day. Like, that's how good this concealer is. It's so beautiful. It has a very moisturizing feel to the under eyes, and it doesn't texturize at all. I pair that with the LYS concealer, which is also another serum-y type concealer. The shade that I have in the LYS concealer is a little bit lighter. So this is a concealer that I like to use for brightening my under eyes, but it still has that serum-like consistency. Very, very lightweight. Very, very, like, it feels like it's not even on your skin. That's how beautiful it is. I found that when I pair the two together, my under eyes just look really, really smooth and really youthful. And I can't get enough of that concealer combination, but on its own, it's a really brightening shade for me. So that's something to keep in mind, is like the shade that I have is a little bit brightening for me. So I would love this in like a little bit darker of a shade so that it matches my skin tone just a little bit more. And these two, I haven't been able to stop putting on my face. I took them to Las Vegas with me, and they are so beautiful on my skin. I have a couple of new releases that I tried in 2024 that I literally just could not put down this year. I'm actually wearing one of these new releases on my face today, and it is the Singe Beauty Evocative Silk Blushes. I have Riveting Rhubarb and Timid Tomato. So I actually have Timid Tomato on my face today. Let's talk about this blush real quick, because it is gorgeous. There are actually 4 shades in the Evocative Silk Blushes. I only have 2 of them that I purchased myself. These were not sent to me in PR. Riveting Rhubarb is that beautiful like coral shade that has this beautiful like sheen to it. So when you put it on, and you can layer it with like cream product if you want as well, it looks glowy and like natural on your skin. But it doesn't look like too over the top. It definitely isn't like glittery by any means, but it does have this like beautiful shimmery satin look to it that's absolutely gorgeous. And then Timid Tomato is the dark red shade that I'm wearing today. And it is this like brick red, burnt red shade that I absolutely love to wear during like these cooler months. It gives me this really nice like flushed cheeks but better look, as opposed to like, you know, very, very soft, subtle, peachy cheeks. I really feel like this is like a really good like holiday blush, and I've been wearing it a lot with the, you know, the end of the year. I started wearing it mostly in October, and I can't put it down. Both of these blushes are so beautiful. Like I said, they're almost like a sheen on your face. They're not like glittery or sparkly, and they're not like a bronzer or a blush lighter type of formula. They're definitely unique in and of themselves because they are not glittery, but they do have that little bit of sheen and shine to them. But it's not like one of those over the top sheens that you see with one of those like blush lighters. It's definitely a blush, silk blush. No pun intended. It is a silk blush formula, and it is absolutely stunning. Now, I do have mature skin, and it does work really well on my mature skin as well. The blushes are super pigmented, and they are absolutely gorgeous. You can buy all 4 of them on Singe Beauty. They are in stock right now, or you can buy them individually on Singe Beauty as well, and I will leave the information linked down below. Following along with the theme of like new releases, I do have 2 blushes that I tried from NYX this year. These are their Buttermelt blushes. Ooh, I almost dropped it. So I do have 2 shades in the Buttermelt blushes. I have a coral shade, and then I also have this like purpley pink cool tone shade that was like really popular at the beginning of 2024. And I tried both of these and I couldn't put them down. Now, these do come in like a couple different finishes. This one's a little bit more sparkly, and it also has a little bit of like a duochrome effect in it because it does start out as like a coral shade, but then it kind of shifts to like a yellow shade. So it really reminds me of the NYX Orgasm blushes. Definitely like in the shade Orgasm. That's what it reminds me of, but it's a little bit darker and a little bit more pigmented. This is like your true cool toned blush shade. It is almost like that lilac-y shade, and it looks really beautiful on the skin. This one does have a little bit of that sheen to it as well, but it's not as like sparkly as the coral shade. So the coral shade is actually called You Know Butta. That's the shade right here. And then this purpley like pink shade is called My Butta Half, and they actually released a variety of shades in these blushes, but they are absolutely stunning. The one thing I don't like is like the packaging is really bulky and big, but they are really, really gorgeous, super affordable, and they look really nice on my skin, and they last a really long time. Now, if we want to talk about kind of like a sheenish blush with like blush lighter that has like that blush lighter feel to it, there are a couple new, there was a good blush release from Essence, and this is their Pure Nude Baked Blush. I actually have 2 shades and I can't find the other one, but the one that I found myself dipping to the most was called Shimmery Rose, and this is like a coral shade, and it is such a sheen coral shade that it really just gave me this like sun-kissed blushy look more than anything, and it gave me this like lit from within glow. And I couldn't get enough of this blush over the summer, just wearing it, popping it on my cheeks, and I could skip highlighter because it has that like blush lighter quality to it. I've actually heard that the Rare Beauty blushes that were released are really similar to this, and the formulations are really similar, but this is more of a subtle blush lighter, whereas her blushes are really blush lightery, like super, super highlightery blushy on your skin, whereas this one is a little bit more subtle, and it does give you this really nice lit from within glow. It is so pretty. That one is like super affordable. I think it's like under $5. It's so good. And I also found myself dipping into Sigma Beauty's blushes quite a bit. I actually layered these quite a bit over the course of 2024. I did receive both of these blushes in PR from Sigma Beauty. They sent me a huge PR box, and I do have a video dedicated to that, just going through doing a whole face of Sigma Beauty because I had all Sigma Beauty products, which is crazy. So I do have their cream blush. This is in the shade Pashmina. So it is like a corally pink shade, very bright, very poppy, very like, it's very much like a spring summer color because of how bright and poppy. I also have the powder blush in Sunset Kiss. So these pair really, really nicely together. I really liked pairing them together because you could do the cream blush on bottom and then the powder blush on top. And they really just like gave this like very glowy, very sun-kissed look, especially in the summertime. And I was wearing it a lot during the summer and then toward the end of the summer because it gave me this like peaches, coralish type of blush look. And the shade for 2024 was actually like a peachy shade. Like it was a peachy shade for 2024. Loved pairing these two together. I used them quite a bit over the summer and they went with me to a lot of places, and I just absolutely loved these blushes for 2024. I do have one blush that is liquid that I couldn't put down. I actually did this in a like comparison video, testing it against a drugstore version. I really like the high-end version of it. Really just kind of like caught my eye for some reason, but it is the matte liquid blushes from Charlotte Tilbury. The shade I have is Peach Pop. This is one of my favorite blush shades. Like for liquid blush, it's super pigmented. It lasts a really, really long time, and it layers so nicely on top of makeup. And also when you layer other makeup products on top of it, but literally you just need one little dot on your cheek and you are good to go. And even though it says it's a matte formula, it's not really matte. It does have a little bit of a like glow to it. a little bit, not like sparkles, not like glitter, but it's just a little bit glowy. Like liquid blush just makes my skin look a little bit glowy, a little bit more juicy, not as like mattifying. And even though this is a matte blush, because it's liquid, it doesn't look matte on my skin. It's so pretty. It's so pigmented. It wears so long, and you don't need a lot of it to actually put it on your face. And it layers really nicely with powder blush products. If you want to do like a blush lighter on top, or if you want to do just a highlight on top, it's really good for that as well. But I fell in love with the Pillow Talk Matte Beauty Blush Wand in Peach Pop. This was one of my favorites. I used it quite a bit in 2024, and I couldn't get enough of it. I can't believe I said that. It's like a $40 blush, guys. Like that's an expensive blush. So I have a whole bunch of bronzers. Let's go with a new release first, because I only have one that's a new release from 2024, and that would be the Butter Melt Bronzer. I featured this also in like a testing new makeup video. Same with the Butter Melt Blush. Guys, like the packaging is so hard to get open. Hello. So I have the Butter Melt Blush shade in All Buttered Up. This is kind of like it has a sheen to it. I'm not gonna lie, it has a little bit of a sheen to it. So it is a little bit like luminescent on your skin, and it does have a little bit of a reddish undertone, though this is more cool tone for me. It does have a little bit of a red undertone. So this does really make me look like I've been kissed by the sun. It makes me look like I have this like, you know, glowy quality to my face. And I did find that like it didn't settle into any of the fine lines that I have like on my forehead, or even like, you know, on my cheeks. I do have some like texturization. It didn't accentuate any of that at all. It does go on very smoothly. I love using it with like an angled contoured brush from Sigma, and I just place this all over my face, and it's so pretty, and it glides on like butter. No pun intended, but it really does. The formula is absolutely beautiful, and I found myself reaching for this a lot in the summertime because it is a little bit darker of a shade. I had a bit of a tan going, so it looked really, really good on my face at that time. And it's a gorgeous bronzer. I believe they're only like $12, and it is a good quality bronzer. I also found myself reaching for some other like OG bronzer products. I did like a full face of like top rated makeup, went on to Sephora, went on to Ulta, and I pulled like all of the top rated makeup, bronzer, blush, like every single category. And the Hoola bronzer is still top rated on Ulta Beauty, and on Sephora it's top rated. And the Hoola original bronzer shade, after I used this, because I've used it quite a bit. I mean, I actually have completely like got a divot in it. You can see like I've used this quite a bit. You can't even see the name of the bronzer, which they stamp Hoola into the bronzer. I've used it that much, like so much I've used this. And this bronzer, even though it's like a high-end price point of like, I want to say it's like $38. I love the way it looks on my skin because it's cool toned. It is matte. It does not have any kind of sheen in it. And it really just makes me look so like bronzy, but not like over the top bronzy. It's like the perfect bronzer shade for me because I'm very pasty pale. I do have a cool undertone, and it looks absolutely beautiful on my skin. Again, this is one of those bronzers that like it lasts for a really, really long time. And like, I just completely fell in love with it when I filmed that video, and I couldn't put it down after using it. And I love this bronzer. It's so good. Sometimes I wonder why I put it away because I just love that bronzer so much. Now let's talk about an indie makeup brand. Indie makeup. I have a couple independently owned makeup brands in here. We have here the Sigma Beauty bronzer. This is their matte bronzer. It is in the shade medium, and I don't like the light shade because it's a little bit too light for me where you really don't see it on my skin, but I am wearing this shade on my skin today in combination with a liquid bronzer that's an honorable mention in this video. And we'll get to that in a minute. But this bronzer is just your typical matte bronzer. It doesn't have a sheen to it, but it does last a really, really long time. I love the packaging on this because it comes with a mirror. It's not bulky. It does have really nice packaging, and I can be a packaging snob myself because I like when packaging is functional. I think the reason why I don't reach for the Benefit bronzer as much, you know, like when I put it away and I go through my rotation, is because the packaging is just so awkward. This packaging is so nice. It's like very, very sturdy. You aren't going to lose this. And it does come with a full-size mirror in here for the packaging. But the bronzer is so good. It like melts into your skin. It like really meshes well with my skin personally. And I find that whenever I wear it, it just gives me this really nice sun-kissed bronzy look, even in the wintertime when I use the shade medium. Actually, I might start using the shade light for more of the wintertime, but I found in the summertime, medium was like my perfect bronzing shade because I was super tan, super tan in the summertime. And now I might switch back to the light shade. So I do have the medium shade, I have the light shade, but these bronzers are just really nicely pigmented. They go on my skin so beautifully. They do last for a very long time. And Sigma Beauty is one of my favorite brands overall. I love their formulations. They're like everything with their products is just so good. It's one of my favorites and I couldn't stop using it. Now we have another independently owned makeup brand and it's Catrice. I used this bronzer and actually the highlights in a video of trying Catrice makeup, seeing what was new with Catrice. This is not a new like duo by any means, but I did want to pick it up because I'd heard it was actually a dupe for a Charlotte Tilbury. Like it's actually a bronzer and a highlight duo that she has in like a mini size. And I was like, oh, let's try it. Well, guys, ever since I tried it, I have not been able to put it down. It is one of my most loved bronzers in my collection right now. When I went to Las Vegas, I knew that I needed a highlight and a bronzer, so I brought this with me and I used it constantly when I was in Las Vegas. This was my go-to. I also traveled to Indiana in November to see my dad get married, and again, this was my travel bronzer. It's very travel-friendly packaging. Yes, it's like, you know, typical run-of-the-mill drugstore plastic packaging, but it's not like super flimsy. It hasn't broken through my travels. I mean, it went on a plane with me. It went on a 10-hour car ride. So it is a really beautiful pigmented formula. I find that it is also a little bit cool toned, which is nice because again, I'm a cool toned person and I like that it has that quality to it where it doesn't really lean too warm. It doesn't really lean like too cool. Actually, it's more like a neutral undertone to it. And it really just like glides on my face so well. I was so impressed by the quality of this bronzer. Like I couldn't stop using it once I used it in that video, and it quickly made its way into my everyday makeup bag, and I haven't been able to stop using it since I got it. I mean, this had like a beautiful like packaging stamp on it, and like I can't stop using it, and the actual design that was stamped on it is gone. I've used it that much, but it's such an affordable bronzer and highlight duo. Definitely worth the money. I think it was under $10, but you get two products for the price of one. Really travel friendly, and I absolutely just loved this bronzer. So for liquid bronzer, we have the Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer Wand. I'm actually wearing this underneath the Sigma bronzer that I put on. And I tried this bronzer and I was just like completely taken away by the fact that it actually worked and worked well. There were other bronzer wands that came out from like Flower Beauty that I tried, and those were not good by any means at all. They were really hard to blend out, but this one was a really good quality. The shade that I have is the fair medium, not fair medium. The shade that I have is fair light, so it is like made for lighter skin tones, but it is super pigmented. It almost has like a neutral undertone to it. I wouldn't say that it has a warm undertone or a cool undertone. It's definitely more on the neutral basis, but it is a really good cream contour wand. I just stamp it on my face a little bit and then I blend it in with a angled brush that I have from Sigma, and then I will do a powder bronzer on top of it to set it. And you don't have to use a powder bronzer on top to set it because it does like, I feel like it's kind of like a cream liquidy to powder product. So it does dry down really nicely. It doesn't feel sticky or tacky on my skin, and it doesn't settle into like, I have fine lines on my forehead. It doesn't settle to anything like that at all. It's such a good bronzer stick and I absolutely love it. It is a little bit pricey. I think it retails for like $15, but it's totally worth it. And I definitely wonder if it compares to the Charlotte Tilbury like bronzer wands. I think that this one, it could possibly be better because the formula is just so good. It blends so beautifully. It doesn't dry down fast. It blends so beautifully on the skin, and I'm blown away by the quality of this product every single time I use it. All right, now we need to talk about highlight because I love highlight, and I know that highlight has kind of been like, it's been an afterthought. I've heard a lot of creators saying that it's kind of an afterthought, that they aren't using a lot of highlight, but I am a highlight person. I love putting on a good highlight. And at the beginning of 2024, I actually started by using the Rare Beauty highlight. And I love this highlight. I actually have used this all year round, and it's actually gotten quite a bit of use out of it. I have the shade Enlightened, and it's kind of like, this is almost like a white, cool toned feeling type of highlight. It is very reflective in the pan. Like, it is so reflective even on my skin, and it looks just so, like, you can do a beam me up Scotty highlight, or you can do something a little bit more subtle and you can just like tap it into your skin. You can just take it, if you don't want like a whole bunch of highlight on your face, with your finger and just kind of like tap it into the skin, and then, you know, like work it into the skin. Or you can use a brush and you can actually just work that into the skin, or you can really just build it up and you get this like beam me up Scotty, like very, very bright highlight. And it is so beautiful because it's such a silky formula, and it really goes on so nicely, and it doesn't like accentuate anything, even with it being such a bright highlighter. Like, bright highlighters, I've noticed they accentuate your pores really, really badly. This doesn't do that. It's super silky. It's super smooth on the skin, and it is, oh, it's such a good highlight. I love this highlight. I use it so much. I've used this throughout 2024. It's always in my makeup bag. It is one of my favorites. It is my favorite, my top highlights. But I also used, and I love the formulation of Ofra. Ofra's highlights are so good. I got the Samantha March Ofra collaboration, and I like this one because it has a mixture of pink and like a champagne shade. You can mix it together and you can create like a really nice, like pinkish, champagne-ish like highlight, or you can just dip into the pink. You can just dip into some of the champagne shade, but it really is like a nice highlight because it doesn't over accentuate. And again, it's like this highlight formulation really reminds me of the Rare Beauty formulation, where you can build it up on your face and you can get a really good highlight. It's like Beam Me Up Scotty. Or if you go in with a super, super, super light hand, then you can actually just do like a very subtle highlight. I found myself reaching for like a bigger, fluffier brush with this specific highlight and just kind of like diffusing it all over my face. And it turned into such a beautiful, like, lit from within glow in whenever I would use it. And it was just so beautiful. I couldn't get enough of the Ofra Samantha March highlight. It is the highlight shade is called Start Inspired, which she actually has like kind of a line from her By Samantha March line, and it is the Start Inspired line. But I love, absolutely love this highlight. It is really, really good. I have two from Sigma. I didn't realize that, but I literally couldn't put them down because I was obsessed with them this year. I started out 2024 using this blush and bronzer. I almost said blush and bronzer. I started 2024 using this blush and highlight duo because I was doing a little bit of like cold girl makeup, a little bit of like, you know, I look like I've been out in the cold weather quite a bit. And I was using this combination quite a bit at the beginning of 2024 in combination with the Rare Beauty highlight. I started using that one at the beginning of 2024, but I have dipped into this so many times ever since I received it, especially the highlight, because it has this like warm gold shade to it that is so pretty on my skin. And I found that this particular shade, it just diffuses so nicely on my skin when I use like a fluffier brush. And I just like very lightly dust it on my face, and it gives me this like lit from within glow to my skin. I'm going to swatch it for you guys so you guys can see. It is a little bit of a goldish undertone, but I found that it's like the perfect undertone for me if I'm doing something that needs to be like a little bit more diffuse, a little bit more blown out with my highlight. And that's something that I really love to do with my highlights because it just gives my skin this very much like lit from within, like angelic glow. Like, it's so pretty. And I couldn't put down the Sigma one. Like, as you can see, like I have actually used so much of it that the stamp for Sigma, like the Sigma brand stamp, is actually pretty much gone in this highlight. It's been used that much. It's so good. And speaking of other highlight, and you know, actually this is the same that you saw with the bronzer, but I couldn't put down the highlight side of this either. Like I said, when I went to Las Vegas, when I did some traveling at the end of this year, I found myself just traveling with this because the highlight and the bronzer quality was so good. And this actually has more of like a cool toned highlight to it. It's the bottom swatch here. And It's very silky. It's very much one of those highlights that like you can go over the top with it, or it can be a little bit dialed back and you can diffuse it out on your face. But it really is just a non-texturizing formula, and it looks so beautiful compared like with the bronzer as well. And I love that it comes in this little like duo. It's like perfect. It's the Holiday Skin Bronze and Glow palette. I don't think I even mentioned that it's the Holiday Skin Bronze and Glow palette, but it's a really good duo formulation. The highlight is just so beautiful. It almost feels like creamy. It's not creamy, but I mean, it's a powder formulation, but it does have that like feeling where it's a little bit like more creamy feeling. It goes on so beautifully. It doesn't over texturize any of my skin at all. And it is such a beautiful formulation. Like I couldn't get enough of it this year, especially at the end when I tried it. And I was just like, this is my favorite duo, but it's also one of my favorite highlights of 2024. Sigma, there's a lot of Sigma because I tried a lot of Sigma this year, but this one was sent to me in PR as well. This is their shade Sizzle, and it's their highlight. So this one has almost like it still has that gold undertone, but it's actually a lot lighter than the one in the Glistening Glow Cheek Duo. This one is so pretty because it is almost like a champagne shade on me, and it's the top shade here, but it's a very like silky formulation. It goes on my skin so smoothly, and I really like the packaging. Again, the packaging is like top notch on this one, but the formulation is just so pretty. It's one of those ones where I can diffuse it out with like a larger, fluffier brush, and it doesn't look streaky on my face. It doesn't like over accentuate anything, or I can use like a more detail oriented brush and just like completely like beam myself up and make me look like super, super glowy. But it's also one of those ones that like I could probably coat my entire face with because it's not super offensive. It's not glittery. It's a very smoothing formula, and it's such a beautiful formula. Let's start with mascaras because I'm pretty much like a mascara snob, and I actually have, so two of them I do not have anymore because they were at the beginning of 2024, but I had to put them in this video because they were like really good standouts to me. And I know that I used up so much of it that like I went through the entire tube. And then I also have the three that I'm using right now that are open right now. But let's talk about the ones that I have in front of me. And then for the ones that I don't have in front of me that have been used up and they have been moved out of my makeup bag and into the trash bag, then I will pop up a picture for you guys. So let's talk about the Essence Lash Princess False Effect Mascara. They recently came out with a brown variation, and then they also have their classic black variation. If you guys are not new to my channel, I have loved on the Lash Princess False Effect Mascara for years and years and years and years. This is like my OG go-to favorite mascara. If you want wispy, false looking lashes, something that's super, super dark and it just looks like you're wearing fake lashes, but it's just a mascara, then the black version is a really good option for you. Now, if you like mascara that is a little bit more on the brown side, so like something that's going to make my green eyes pop, or if you have blue eyes, it also makes blue eyes pop. They do have a brown version of this mascara. I found that this is kind of like a chocolatey brown version. So it's a little bit lighter than the black version, obviously, but it does have this like beautiful chocolatey brown formulation. And it is actually a really beautiful formulation because it is still pretty dark on the lashes, but it's a brown shade. So it really makes my green eyes pop and come to life. Now it does create more of a fluttery lash. It does create more of a full lash, and they're not going to be as like bold as what they would be with the black mascara. But I do find that when I wear the brown version, especially when I'm wearing like nude looks or not something that's like super, super over the top, the brown mascara really gives it like a little bit of added volume to my lashes without it being too over the top. And the makeup looks turn out just so beautiful, and they turn out very like natural looking, but my lashes look very full and like, you know, lengthened and beautiful. And I love both variations of this mascara. I think they're both absolutely phenomenal. And if you like a brown mascara, this one is like a dark chocolatey brown shade. And if you like a really good, true black is black mascara, and they both add volume, they both make your lashes look fake, definitely check out the False Effect Mascara from Essence. These are both very good. They retail for $4.99 a piece, and they are super affordable. Now, I also tried a new mascara from Ulta Beauty. This was one that I tried recently, but I actually kind of found that I liked the formulation. When I first put it on though, I found that the wand was just way too loaded up with product, and I didn't really like that it had that quality to it. But after I got used to the formulation, after I got used to this weird like hourglass wand, I did find that I really like the formulation. I feel like my lashes do look very, very full, very, very volumized with this mascara. It was just me needing to get used to the wand. I do have this in a video where I tried a whole bunch of new makeup. I didn't know if they were duds or if they were good. And usually Ulta Beauty can be hit and miss with their products, as you can see in that video. If you go check it out, you can see some of their products are a little bit hit and miss, but this one was definitely a hit for me. I really have enjoyed it since I've been using it, and it really just gives me these beautiful lengthened volumized lashes. Not as dramatic as the False Effect mascara, but definitely if I want to kind of amp up my lashes, they look absolutely stunning. Now, there were two mascaras that I actually went through this year. The first one being the Falsies mascara from Maybelline. This is in the purple tube. I actually really liked this mascara. I heard a lot of people saying they didn't like how it removed, which I can get on board with that because I really don't like how it removes itself. It literally is a mascara that like adheres to your lashes and doesn't want to move. But I found that this was kind of like a combo like formulation with the way that it's made. It is very volumizing. It does really lengthen my lashes, but it's almost kind of like it almost felt like kind of like tubing, but it wasn't really a tubing formulation because you could see the length of my lashes becoming extended with the use of the Falsies mascara from Maybelline. It was really hard to remove. That's the only caveat to this one. So you want to use like a cleansing balm or a makeup remover, like oil or like eye makeup remover or something like that. And then you're going to have to cleanse the rest of your face and really work the mascara off of your lashes. And you have to be really careful because it can strip your lashes as well. But I found that the fight to get it off was worth the payoff because it did last all day. It did not smudge on my under eyes, and it looked really beautiful on my lashes, and it made them look really full and really lengthened and just absolutely beautiful. That was one of my favorites at the beginning of 2024. I went through that one, started using some other mascaras. I also used the Make Waves mascara from Tower 28. This was a purchase that I made at the end of 2023 after going to Creators and Friends, and I decided to try out this mascara, and I absolutely loved it. It was a very wet formula at first, so you have to be really careful about the way that you apply it. So it takes a little bit for it to dry down. But once it dries down, you have very like volumized lashes. And I really feel like it did also really lengthen my lashes, and it gave them this like beautiful fluttery effect. Just the way that the wand is created, like my lashes looked so fluttery and so pretty and like so natural, but it was a little bit dramatic as well. Not as dramatic as the False Effect from Essence, but pretty close. I did really enjoy that mascara. That mascara is actually at a high-end price point, and I believe it retails for like $24 to $28. So if you're looking for like fluttery, full lashes, the Make Waves mascara is actually really, really good. And those were my top 5 mascaras from 2024. So good. Can't put them down. Obviously, the False Effect mascara has been a favorite for a long time. This one I have repurchased so much, and I can't get enough of this one. It's like my ultimate mascara that I absolutely love. Okay, let's talk about setting powders real quick, because I'm actually really picky about my setting powders. I do have some fine lines under my eyes, and if it settles into my fine lines, it just doesn't look right. Let's talk about ones that I have used so much that I've hit pan on. I have a couple here. And we're going to start off by talking about the L'Oreal Infallible Fresh Wear Powder Foundation. I actually have 2 shades of this one. One I use is more of like a foundation. One I use is an actual like under eye powder, which is this shade right here. The shade is 5, and it is a very lightweight formula. Technically, it's a powder foundation, but it really settles nicely on my skin and on my under eyes. And I found that this shade in particular was like the perfect shade to just give myself a little bit of brightness with that coverage when I was really having like a lot of mom bags and I had a lot of like blue under my eyes, and I just needed to really conceal it with like foundation and concealer, and then also putting a really good powder on top of it. I found that this one just wears down really, really nicely throughout the day as well. It has a little bit of a scent to it, I'm not going to lie, but it's non-offensive and it is a really good product. It didn't settle into my fine lines at all. And it's probably one of my favorite when I'm looking for something that gives me like really good boosted coverage along with no texturization and, you know, something that's going to last a really long time. We're going to stick with the theme of pressed powders for a minute because I do have a couple of pressed powders and then I have some loose powders. But this is another one that I hit pan on. This is the Essence Brighten Up Banana Powder. So it is tinged a little bit yellow and it does provide the brightening quality on the under eyes. And I'm going to give you guys an example of that because it is such a good brightening quality. And I find that it has a little bit of white, but a little bit of yellow. And you'll see it just really brightens my under eyes and makes them look way brighter, way brighter. So on the days when I'm needing to brighten up my under eyes, when I'm needing a little bit of extra oomph in my skin, I find that I reach for this powder so much. I mean, obviously, because I have so much pan in it. I've actually used it so much that I broke the packaging and I have to like strategically place it together and put it in a slot in my makeup bag so it doesn't come apart. But this is a product that I have reached for constantly. This is actually a product that I have replaced like multiple times in my collection because I just love it so much, and it's from Essence. It's so good. I also have another favorite. This was actually named in, I believe it was my 2023 Best of Beauty, but honestly, I still stand by that. And it is the Sephora Micro Smooth Baked Multitasking Powder Foundation, technically. So this is a baked formulation. It is very finely milled. As you guys can see, like there is a huge, if you guys can see, there's a huge divot in this product. I've used it so much, but it is a baked formulation. The shade that I have is 5 Porcelain. So it is a brightening formulation for me, but I have found that this is one of those products that I can combine with a concealer. So just conceal my under eyes and then do a dusting of this all over my face. And it really just brings my makeup together, and I can do like something really simple like that. Or I can take this powder, put on like all my cream products, all my powder products. And then if I find that it's a little bit like if it's having problems like blending on my face, or like it looks a little bit patchy, I can take this and I can even out everything and I can really just like dust it on my face like that. And it just brings my whole makeup look together. And it also really does a great job of brightening my under eyes and setting my under eyes without over accentuating all of my like, you know, fine lines that I have. But it is such a beautiful powder formulation, and I love that it's baked and it's just very smooth. Like it says micro smoothed, and it's not wrong. It's micro smoothed. It is so beautiful. I have two loose powders that I couldn't put down in 2024. One of them is Bougie, which is the Huda Beauty Easy Baked Setting Powder in the shade Cupcake. So I've used quite a bit of this. This actually went to Las Vegas with me. Sometimes I don't bake my face. I've never baked my face, but I do like taking a powder puff and dipping in and really pressing this into my under eyes because it is so finely milled. And the shade Cupcake actually brightens my under eyes just a little bit so that it really just like presses it in, creates a really smooth under eye, and it looks so pretty. And then I also like to take it and put it on my jawline, sometimes with a powder puff or even like one of these microfiber powder puffs, and I just like take it and pat it in like this, especially if I find that maybe my bronzer got a little bit too out of control, or if I just really want like that sharp line on my chin. I like to tap it in like this, and it really just like smooths out all of the makeup, and it really just like evens everything out, brightens it, and makes it look really nice. Like look how it just made my face look more lifted, more youthful. I am 35, so I need all the help that I can get. But this is such a good finely milled powder. It is so beautiful. It does have a little bit of a scent to it, so I do warn you, but it's not really super offensive. It's just more florally. And you can find the Easy Bake setting powder in smaller variations in the mini sizes. So if you want to try it out for like a fraction of the cost, you can do that with the mini size. And then I also have the LA Girl. This is the Pro Setting Brightening Loose Setting Powder. This has a pink undertone to it, which I have found lately that pink can like neutralize some of the blue that I have going on if I have a lot of blue going on. And I've also found that it just helps like bring all my makeup together. So it's not like super over the top pink, but it is enough where it kind of color corrects, but it also sets as well. And I found that this one is just absolutely beautiful. I'm actually thinking about doing a side-by-side comparison between a yellow and a pink so you guys can see like the difference between the two. And if you would like to see that, leave me a comment down below. but this is obviously the shade. It's called Soft Pink. They do have a yellow shade, I believe, as well, but this is a loose version of it. And I find that because it's so finely milled, it makes it really easy to get into the under eyes and set all of my under eye. And it does give me like a brightening effect, but it's not like super white bright. It's just more of a subtle color correction with the pink shade, and it's really beautiful. Now let's move on to setting spray. These are ones that I have either used a lot of, gone through, purchased more of, but they're really good. I would say my top favorite one would have to be the Maybelline Lasting Fix. This is a spray. It comes in 3.4 fluid ounces, so you can travel with it technically, but I have found that this setting spray in particular really reminds me of the MAC Fix Plus spray. I can't talk today. It reminds me of the MAC Fix Plus spray, where it is a mattifying spray. It really just like adheres like all your makeup together. It's like all the layers come together on your face, and it just like, you know, puts them all into one. And it really provides like a long lasting makeup look, and it's not over drying. It's not too over the top. The sprayer on the nozzle is not non-offensive. It's like so non-offensive. It's very, very finely sprayed when it does spray on your face. And it literally just sets your makeup so beautifully without harming the makeup as well. So some of those makeup products that like spritz on your face and do like dabs of like product all over, it can really disrupt the makeup, and this just, it doesn't do that. It's such a long-lasting formula, and it retails for like $8.99, and it literally reminds me of the MAC Fix Plus. That's how good it is. It's such a good formulation. I also love the Ultra Last Fixing Spray from Catrice. This is a newer one. This one is another one that kind of reminds me of the MAC Fix Plus and a lot of the same qualities and same ways that MAC Fix Plus is a mattifying spray. That's what this one is. It's a mattifying spray. It does come in only 1.69 fluid ounces, so it is a smaller size, but it does retail for like, I want to say $7 or $8, and you can buy it on Amazon. And this one specifically, it just really mattifies your makeup. It really makes it last a lot longer. I mean, I used so much of it that I think I have like this much left in the bottle. Like there's hardly any left because I used so much of it, and I just love this one so much. But it really just gives my makeup a really good even coat of setting and makes it last a long time. And it does remind me of MAC Fix Plus as well. But honestly, this one's a little bit more affordable, being at $8.99, and you get 3 ounces of product. So, but this one I wanted to try. I did a full face of Catrice with it, and it is a really good one. It does have like a fresh scent to it as well. It's a little bit scented, but it's really good. Now, if you're looking for a product that really adds some dew and glow and glitter and glitz, the Iconic London Prep Set Glow. This is a beautiful formulation. You can see that it has like a glitter formulation in it. It's not like huge glitter particles. It's just like this very subtle, my face looks hydrated but better type of spray. I found myself using this so much. I mean, over half of it is gone, and I'm very picky about my setting sprays. Like, it needs to make my makeup last a long time. I did find that I use this in conjunction with other setting sprays more than anything. So I would use this to do like a really nice, like add some moisture back into my face, add some glisten and glow back into my face. And then I would top it with one of my more mattifying like products to like really make the makeup look go together. But you can see how it kind of like livened up the makeup. And I really think that it has a great quality of being able to like liven up your makeup if it's looking a little bit dull. And that's why I love it so much. As far as like SPF goes, I really like the Milani Make It Last Sunscreen Setting Spray. This has an SPF of 30. So in the summertime when I was layering all of my SPF products, this was my last step in my makeup routine. It does have that sunscreen smell to it, but I really like how I was able to add the SPF when I was setting all of my makeup products down. If you're unfamiliar with SPF, you're supposed to apply it like every 2 to 3 hours. And with this product, you're able to just respray your face and rejuvenate your face and get that SPF effect with it. Essentially, there really aren't any, the only other way that you could get that kind of effect where you're like spraying your face with SPF every couple of hours would be like if you took a spray sunscreen and sprayed it all over your face, but those are like really greasy and they tend to move the makeup around a lot. I found that this one really just rejuvenated my makeup, but it also added the SPF back in after a couple of hours. And it was really nice to be able to refresh my makeup with an SPF like featured setting spray that really gave it that quality. It was really beautiful, and I really enjoyed it during the summertime. Now, aerosol sprays are like in right now. I've seen that one size has a aerosol setting spray that's like totally in, but I'm here to tell you this one from L'Oreal. It's the 36-hour Defy Transfer setting spray. I love this one. It is like, and I have stuff all over my face already, but let's just do it. Let's do it. If you're familiar with the L'Oreal Infallible line, it does have like a slight florally scent to it, which this one does have. But I find that the aerosol just really mattifies my makeup, and it doesn't disturb the makeup at all. There's no like big spritz of makeup, like there's no big spritz of stuff on my face, and it really just helps my makeup like not move. And I really like that it is a long-lasting formulation. This is a new discovery for me, but I haven't stopped using it since I discovered it in like October, and it's one of my favorites, and I can't put it down. It's so good. It does retail for like $12.99 though, so it's a little bit more on the pricier side, but I did find that it really makes my makeup last forever. And it is very like, it's not necessarily transfer proof, but it does make it a little bit more transfer resistant, and it dries down so nicely. Like you don't have to wait for like traditional setting sprays. You have to wait for it to dry down before you can actually like, you know, move around and do things. And this one is very like drying, where you put it on and your face doesn't feel like it's super moist. It's like already dry. It's already ready to go. And I really like the quality that this provides. Technically, I have 6 eyeshadow palettes. One of them is an honorable mention, and I had to put it in this video because it was really used a lot. And the reason why, so let's just start out with that one first. Let's start out with the one that's like the honorable mention. And the reason why it's an honorable mention is because it was a build my own palette just full of matte shades. So I originally created this eyeshadow palette out of my Makeup Geek singles. And I created it because Makeup by Mario had come out with an all matte eyeshadow palette, Kylie Cosmetics or somebody like that. Like there were so many just matte nude eyeshadow palettes that were released in 2024. And I just wanted to build my own. That's all I wanted to do. Build my own. And I found myself using this eyeshadow palette so much throughout the year of 2024 because it was the perfect combination of like warm tone and cool tone matte shades in here, and they're all neutral, which like I am a neutral person. I do like a lot of neutral eyeshadow looks. I'm not gonna lie there. I'm trying to venture into more colorful eyeshadow looks, but this was my like, this is the honorable mention because it's a BYOP palette, and it was one that I used so much in 2024. So it does have a range, like I said, of warm tones and of cool tones, and they're all Makeup Geek shades. I have some really light shades in here, some like burnt brickish, brownish shades, some cool tones, some warm tones. Honestly, can you guys see the wear in it? There's so much use out of this single eyeshadow, like out of this BYOP palette. I got so much use out of it. And I just like how it provided me with the perfect matte combination of, you know, neutral leaning, like just of like warm tones and cool tones. And that's why I reached for it so much in 2024. It was actually a really good companion to one of my most used palettes in 2024. And that was the Celestial Witch by Electrum Cosmetics. So this is a 9-pan multi-chrome and holochrome and duochrome eyeshadow palette. This was sent to me by the brand, and I used it constantly in 2024. I definitely say some of my favorite shades would be this one up here, Just a Phase, Cosmic Power, and Vespertine. Those are like my ultimate favorites because they just look so beautiful with like a little neutral shadow in the crease, and then you just put that all over the lid and you're good to go. Like a lot of really good one and done shades in this eyeshadow palette, and you could just pair it with like colorful makeup, you could pair it with neutral makeup, and it really just like amped up my eyeshadow look really, really nicely. And it came with like just these beautiful multi-chrome, dual-chrome formulas that are just very creamy. They are very, like, they just stick to my eye so beautifully, and they don't crease. They don't, you know, flake in my eyes at all. I don't get really any fallout with these. And it was just like a really good companion palette to my all neutral eyeshadow palette. It was so good. And I loved pairing those together. But honestly, Celestial Witch was used in combination with a whole bunch of other eyeshadow palettes. It was kind of like my companion palette of the year, but it was definitely one of my most used in 2024. It was so good. Alrighty, so I have a whole bunch of like new releases, some things that were like discontinued, but I do have the Natasha Denona I Need a Nude eyeshadow palette. Go figure, it's a nude eyeshadow palette. This was released in 2023 actually, and I found myself using this and reaching for this so much because I am a neutral person, but I'm also a person who really loves cool tones. Like I love cool toned makeup, and this just offered like the perfect variety of different cool tones for me. And it's in a 15 shade eyeshadow palette. The mattes are super blendable. I really like the wet looking formula that Natasha produced in this specific eyeshadow palette. And I know that it seems kind of light, but I'm also like fairly pasty pale. So this is like the perfect eyeshadow palette for me when I was just doing some one and done looks. I did mention that this was like, I have a one and done shade in this eyeshadow palette, and I mentioned it in a one and done video that I have up on my channel. So go check that out. But I just love this eyeshadow palette because it had the wet eyeshadow looks in it. It had a really good blendable matte formula. And it really did have, to me, a good variety of like some little like salmony shades in here. But then it also had like this dark tone, and it also had some really nice like wet looking foil, like sparkly eyeshadows, and they were just absolutely stunning all over the lid. This is actually still available. It's a $69 palette from Natasha Denona. One of my favorites of 2024. It was an instant favorite at the end of 2023 too. I think I put it in my best of beauty for 2023. I think I did because I loved it that much. I have some indie makeup, and one of these was discontinued, and I have to talk about this one because I love Blend Bunny. Blend Bunny has a really, really beautiful formula. I think that the Blend Bunny formula is actually really comparable to the Natasha Denona formula. And I love how they lay out their palettes where it goes from like light to dark, and they just like really nicely organize these. So it's really like appealing to the eye. I bought the Sugar and Grunge palette, and this was actually a discontinued palette from Blend Bunny Cosmetics. There was like a whole bunch of stuff going on with that where like they were being threatened because of the name of the palette, and I think it was the use of the grunge name, but I digress. I think it was, I have some unfiltered thoughts on that. But anyway, the brand, instead of going through litigation and, you know, fighting it, they just discontinued the palette and they put it up for sale for half off on their website, and I ended up picking it up. But this ended up being like my go-to eyeshadow palette for like a good portion of 2024. I want to say like all through the summer and even into the fall, I was like using this palette like crazy. And the thing that I loved about this palette was just that it had everything in it that I love to use. So it does have some like neutral shades, but it also offered pinks. I love doing purple looks. Like I love purple looks. I love aqua looks. I love like combining it all. I even find that I dip into green eyeshadow looks a lot when I want to make my eyes pop. And literally this is just like the perfect combination of colors for me because they're all colors that I am able to translate into something that is a little bit more every day for myself. And I found myself just dipping into this entire palette like way too much. It was so good. I didn't feature it on my channel only because it was discontinued, but this was one of my most used palettes of 2024. And I really hope that they're able to rename it to like Sugar and Spice or something like that, so that they're able to relaunch this palette because it is such a good palette. I love the color combinations that I can create in this. It's very user-friendly. The blending of the mattes is just chef's kiss. It does have really nice foil formulas in here. And some of them kind of translate actually more like wet on the eyes, like this one here. It's called Bubblegum, and it's my favorite shade in the entire palette. Like I have so much use out of it, but their foil shade in general is just so good. And I could not put down this eyeshadow palette through a lot of 2024. It was so good. I also did in a video, I tried out the new Icon palettes from Makeup Revolution, and Makeup Revolution came out with 4 Icon palettes in specifically it was 4 Icon palettes. I tried out 2 of them, and the one that really just like I couldn't stop using, I want to say at the latter half when we were going into like more of the hot months, so like August, September, October even, I used this palette so much. This is the True Icon palette, which is the $12 version of the Patrick Ta Major Dimension 2 eyeshadow palette. I have a full video on my channel dedicated to this palette and the Eternal Icon palette. And this palette took me away. Like it is so good. It really impressed me that Makeup Revolution was able to come up with a eyeshadow formula that was not only blendable, but it was buttery. And then it also had these really beautiful foil shades in here that weren't drying. There was no fallout. A lot of them were like just very beautiful, like velvety feeling, translated on the eye, just so sparkly and so pigmented. The mattes were really, really blendable. They were buttery. And this palette just like completely blew me away, because I wish Makeup Revolution made all their palettes like they make this one. This one literally is comparable to a higher end eyeshadow formula because it is that good. It is so good. And I will link for you guys in the eye or in the description box down below that Makeup Revolution eyeshadow video that I did featuring this one and the Eternal Icon. But this one I couldn't put down. I do love that it is warm toned, so I was able to get some of those like really burnt, like neutral eyeshadow looks with it. And the foils are just so good. They're velvety, they are smooth, they don't really create a lot of fallout, and they just create that like sparkle top that I love that's been trending lately. But I couldn't put this palette down once I tried it, and I was just so blown away by the quality of it. It was so good. I've swatched the Patrick Ta Major Dimension 2 in store, just kind of like put my fingers in it, was feeling it around, and the quality of that Makeup Revolution palette is so similar. It just blew me away. And I know a lot of other people have tried those palettes and they were blown away by it too. And the last palette that I used the most in 2024, this took me by surprise. I mean, am I really surprised that it like blew me away in 2024 that I was using it so much? Kinda yes, but kinda no. So Sigma Beauty launched the Little Mermaid collection. I have a full review on my channel of the Little Mermaid collection, and specifically the eyeshadow palette. I am diehard Little Mermaid fan. My daughter's room is decorated in mermaids. I have loved the Little Mermaid ever since I was a little girl. And when they released this collection, I was like, I want it. I would love to get my hands on it. And I am on Sigma's PR list, so they sent me the whole PR box, and I found myself unable to put this eyeshadow palette down. I was able to create neutral looks, glam looks, like purple looks. This has duochromes in it. It has some foily, beautiful shades in it. It also has a really nice matte formula, and it has like a really good range of formulations in this eyeshadow palette and shades in this eyeshadow palette. I just found that I was able to do so much with it that it reminds me a lot of the Blend Bunny palette, where it has specific shades where you can translate it to neutral, and it does go in a really good color gradient as well. And I think that's also why it appealed to me so much, is that they designed it so nicely with this color gradient. But you can do warm tone brown looks that remind me of like under the, sitting on the sand and you're just enjoying some sunshine. You have these like purple looks, you have these green looks that you can do. You can mix it all together and do kind of like a gradient on your eye. I literally dipped into every single shade in this eyeshadow palette, and I found myself just using this so much. I created so many beautiful looks with this eyeshadow palette over the course of when I received it. I had this in my makeup bag for like months. It was so good. It was really nice to travel with because look how tiny it is. I mean, this palette right here, one of my top favorites. Look how much this got used in 2024. Like you can see there's a lot of dippage, a lot of use in this. Like I could create one and done looks with this. I could just go a little bit neutral with it. I could go glam with it. I could go like pink with a little pop of like the duochrome on it. Like this palette was just so fun to play with, and I used it so much in 2024. I could not put it down. It was just so good. And I feel like all these palettes, like Yeah, we have a stack of like some neutral palettes that have a little bit of color in them, but I really feel like these were all just my style of makeup where it's like neutral with a twist, neutral with like a glitter topper on my eye or a dual chrome topper on my eye. Or, you know, if I was using purples, I love purple shades. Or if I was doing like a lilac eye, or if I was doing like a pink eye, like I could do a lot of those eyeshadow looks with these palettes, and they were just used so much in 2024. I could not get enough of them, and they are really, really good. These are by far the most used eyeshadow palettes in 2024. When I was looking back and I was thinking about all the makeup that I had tried in 2024, these were the ones that stuck out to me the most because I knew that they had traveled with me, that they had been used a lot, that I had used them so much that like there were divots in the pans, or like if they were like stamped with a design, the design is almost gone. That's how much I use these palettes in 2024. And they are just like chef's kiss, my favorite, my most used. They were so good. And honestly, this is not one of those like, go buy these now. But if you're the type of person who's looking to venture into a little bit of like colorful makeup or, you know, dual chromes, multi-chromes, that sort of thing, and you want to incorporate it into, you know, maybe pair it with a neutral eyeshadow palette, these ones are really, really good. We're talking about lips today. Lips, like top most used lip products in 2024. Like, I can't believe I'm talking about lips on my channel because I hardly ever talk about lips on my channel. And 2024 was the year that Staci did her lips. If you are new to my channel, I'm not really a lipstick person. I used to forget to do my lips on camera sometimes, and I would go film and I'm like, I don't have anything on my lips. Like it's literally a running joke to me that I never do my lips. And 2024, I have so many lip combinations that I wanted to show you guys today. So buckle up. We're getting into my most used lip products and lip combinations. So we have some drugstore, we have some high end, we have some really beautiful lip combinations. The first, and I'm going to do swatches on the back of my hand here so you guys can see like what the lipstick looks like. But the first like most used product in 2024 that was just on its own, this I used so much and so frequently throughout the year of 2024. Like this product has gotten a lot of use out of it. Like if you guys can't see here, like this little bullet has so much use out of it because I absolutely love this formulation. And it is the Effortless Lips by Revie Beauty. And the shade that I have in particular is Lily. This is more of a mauve shade. It is literally my natural lip color, but better. And I found, let's just do a little swatch here. I found that because this formula is very moisturizing, it is also buildable, that I was able to really get my lips to look natural, plump, full, even though that sometimes they tend to be a little bit dry. But this is such like a moisturizing formula. It is such like, it's almost like, I feel like it's a combination of like tints with like a lipstick with like a chapstick because it was that nourishing on my lips. And I would literally throw that shade in my purse all the time and just like being applying it all the time. It's not too over the top. It is not too like, it's literally just like your lips, but better. And it's such a beautiful shade. I definitely feel like the Lily shade was like my favorite. I do have 3 of the Effortless Lips. I do know in 2024, she released a couple more shades, but this was like my go-to one and done lip shade. Throw it on whenever in my purse, when I was on the go, heading out the door. This was like my #1 lip product for 2024. It was so good. I also tried a lot of like neutral lip combinations. I'm not like a bold lipstick person. I say as I'm wearing like bright red lips today. So from Huda Beauty at the end of 2023, I did get a like sample size. It's like a mini size of one of her lip contouring lip liners, and the shade is 2.0 Warm Brown. This shade is a little bit dark, but I did find that I really liked just lining my lips with this. So you can see the shade right here. And then I would either pair it with this lipstick bullet from Huda Beauty, and it has gotten so much wear out of it. This is the cream lipstick shade in Hustler. This is also just a really pretty brown shade, and it is kind of like a lippy, balmy, it's a satiny, kind of glossy shade. It really did like add nourishment to my lips. These two together are like a good like brown 90s lip. Or I would pair that lip liner with my Satin O Face lipstick from e.l.f. This is also in the shade Hustle. So that's ironic. We have the shade Hustler from Huda and Hustle from e.l.f. But I would actually just pair it with this, like, it's almost like an orangey brown nude shade. You can see right here. And I actually picked this shade up because I was inspired to do some like orangish, nudish lips from Angelica Nyquist. I saw this shade and I was like, let's step outside my comfort zone. And I ended up loving this shade so much. It actually got a lot of use in 2024. This was my like, I used this lip so much with that lip liner. And it created this really nice like ombre effect with like the dark brown and then that orangey, brownish, nudie shade. And it was just really pretty. It made my lips look super full. And it just gave me like this like natural lip orangish look. And I love to pair it with like something, if my eyes were a little bit more bold, going a little bit more muted with my lips was like a really good option. And I absolutely loved that lip combination in 2024. I also loved this lip liner from Anastasia Beverly Hills. The shade that I have is Malt. And this shade is a super deep chocolatey brown shade. It's this shade right here. And it's a dark chocolate brown shade. I really liked to use this just to line my whole lips, and then I would fill it in on the edges, and then I would either fill in my lips completely with this and pair it with a lip oil, which I loved this one from Catrice, the tinted lip oil from Catrice. And I have like the pink shade. So I would do these two together, just the lip liner and this on top, and it would create this really beautiful glossy brown lip. And it was just so like juicy looking, and it would lighten up the brown just a little bit. So it wasn't like too dark for me, but it was definitely a good combination that I absolutely loved. And this is tinted just a little bit pink. You guys can see I actually paired it with it a lot because it's like rubbed off on this. It's tinted just a little bit pink, so it would soften that brown shade just a little bit. And it would give me this really nice, dark looking, glossy lip that was just like so juicy and pretty. It wasn't necessarily brown, but it was definitely like really, really good. And I absolutely loved that lip combination. You know what? This isn't even going to be like a top 5. This is just going to be my most used like lip combinations, because I think there's like a million lip combinations with the lips that I with the lips that I have. I also used this lip liner. It's Anywhere Caffeine from Makeup Forever. This was one that I bought when I saw a video from Samantha March. So the swatch is right here. This is kind of like that medium brown with a little bit of a mauve shade in it. And I really liked pairing this one with just a regular lip oil. So I used a lot of the time the e.l.f. Lip Reviver oil, and the shade was Rose Quartz. So this one is also like a pink shade, but this one has a little bit of it's not so pink based. It actually has more of a clear base to it. So it was really, really pretty. You can see the lip oil from Catrice here, and it does have that pink undertone. The one from e.l.f. doesn't really have as much of a pink undertone. It's just more clear with like a little bit of a tinge of pink. But these two together, my lips looked so juicy. They looked very natural. They looked very full. And I couldn't get enough of this lip combination in 2024. I actually wore it quite a bit. I also wore this Anastasia lip liner quite a bit as well. It's Dusty Rose. So this is a very, very like mauve. It's very, very undertoned to like a pink shade. And I liked to pair this a lot with a lip oil. So it was usually the Catrice or it was the e.l.f. lip oil. And these were just my lips, but better looking. And it was a really beautiful combination that I had. Now at the end of 2024, I had this really beautiful lip combination that I couldn't stop wearing. And there was a video up on my channel kind of like doing this similar lip look, but I would take the Malt lip liner, line my lips, and then just do the inside corners of my lips like so. And being a little bit messy with it, but also making sure that I'm like contouring my lips with it a little bit. And then I would take this lip stain from ColourPop. It's a red lip stain. It doesn't have a shade on it. Oh, Big Apple. So I would take Big Apple, this red lip stain. It's like a true red, super, super bright, super, super red. Fill in my lips with it. and it stains my lips, which is what I like because I want it to have lasting power. And then the last step in my lip routine is I would add this lip gloss to it. This is the Extreme Shine Volume Lip Gloss from Essence, and the shade is called Shadow Rose. And just place this on top. And it just gave me these like luscious looking holiday lips that I couldn't get enough of because they're pretty red, but they're almost like a muted red, so it's not like too over the top red. And my lips are small, and I feel like this really makes my lips look bigger and fuller without it being too big, too full, too over the top, too overfilled, too overlined. And this was my go-to lip combination in December of 2024. This one right here. These three products, absolutely stunning. I will have to do like an updated lip combination video of this because it really is beautiful. It's something that I could wear throughout the winter months with like this neutral look that I have going, or even for Valentine's Day lips, because the red lip just like speaks to me like nothing else. It really makes my lips pop. It makes them look fuller. It really just, I like the way my lips look with this lip combination because it's not too red, not too over the top, but it's like the perfect red, like juicy, sultry red look that I can get. And I definitely think this is going to be like my lip combination going into Valentine's Day as well. These were my go-to lip combinations of 2024. I absolutely loved these because they just made my lips look fuller, juicier. They gave me sometimes they gave me a grungy look. Sometimes they gave me just like a one and done look where I could head out the door with just a little bit of makeup on and I felt like myself. But these were like my top lipstick combinations, top lipstick formulas used in 2024. And I just could not get enough of them. Thank you guys so much for watching and staying tuned to the end. If you guys haven't already, please consider subscribing, and I hope I get to see you in my next video. Bye!